Okay, hello everyone. This is another video on how to answer paper 2 psychology questions. All right, so in this video I'll be going through the content and then I'll be responding to the answers. All right, I want to appreciate all my subscribers and then those that are taking the time to go through the videos and then sending me messages in appreciation. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much. And please, for those of you also watching that you are yet to subscribe, please ensure you subscribe. I will really appreciate it a lot. Okay. I also need your support, and then that's the way you can show your support. All right. So today I'll be looking at paper 2, May June 2024. This paper often lasts for 1 hour 30 minutes, so you have to be fast. Don't waste your time on any section, either the A path or B path. All right, so moving straight to the point, identify the sampling technique used in the study of Milgram obedience. Milgram obedience. Okay, how did they get the participant? They use adults, right? Yeah, adults. Okay, yeah, from New Haven. So how did they get them? Yeah, advertisement in a newspaper. All right. So if it's advertisement in a newspaper, then what does that tells us? It's a volunteer sampling. People volunteer, right? Volunteer sampling. It's 1 mark. That's it. Outline how the sample was obtained in this study. All right. Yeah, there was an advertisement. Okay. Um, on a newspaper, ask or request. Let me see. Okay, asking for people to volunteer in order to participate in a what? In a study on memory and punishment. Yeah. So I believe this should give me my 2 marks, right? So I mentioned 2 elements, right? There was an advertisement on the newspaper, and then the advertisement is about people who are interested. Okay, yeah, people who are interested, asking for interested people who wants to participate. Yeah, I can use that as well. It's fine. Okay. Um, the the advertisement was let me use the word broadcasted. Okay, oh, let me see, it was no, no, okay, was for people in new, yeah, all right. So that's where they are from, but I don't necessarily need to add that. I believe the first 2 points should get me my 2 marks. Now explain what is meant by the ethical guideline of species in relation to animal in psychology. Yeah, what is the ethical guideline here? I often tell my student that. Okay. um, um, the species that are least likely going to suffer harm should be used for psychology experiment. Yeah, as simple as that. Okay, now are we done with the question? Okay. It says, explain what is meant by the ethical guideline of species in relation to animal in psychology research. Yeah, but since it's 2 mark, we have to be careful. So it would be nice if we add an example, right? Okay, for example, yeah, you can keep this example in mind in case you see questions like this. All right, what example can we use? Okay, looking at birds, for example, we won't be talking about humans, but animals actually. Looking at birds, for example, um, okay, there is a particular species called guinea fowl. Yeah, we have guinea fowl, we have turkey, we have um, chicken, okay, and others. All right. So, for example, guinea fowl are mostly slim and they're very very strong. Actually, they can fly. All right. So, guinea fowl can be used instead of chicken as they are stronger. Fine. Okay, moving forward. Dement and Clayton, Sleep and Dream ask participants to record their dream narratives. Okay, the words in each narrative were counted. All right. Yeah, they counted their numbers of words they used in narrating their dreams. How many words did they use to narrate their dreams? Okay, now identify the type of data provided by counting the words in the narrative. Yeah, what kind of data is that? Yeah, obviously it's a numerical data. They counted the numbers, numerical data. That is quantitative. If you remember vividly, quantitative. I covered all that in my research method, my video on research method. You can check it out. Quantitative, they just identify the type of data provided by counting the words. Okay, quantitative data was provided. It's 2 mark. We can just identify. We have to explain what are quantitative data. Quantitative data are numerical data, and then because yeah, okay, yeah, quantitative data was provided because it provided a numerical data. Okay, yeah, that is fine. But can we add example? Yeah, you can add example. For example, maybe 500 words for a dream narration. Yeah, it's an example. It doesn't actually, okay, it's just an example to display the words, okay, to explain what we are trying to write here. So it doesn't actually mean that any participant narrated 500 words because that detail was not given. So I want to believe that the identification and then the explanation should give me my 2 mark, but most of the time I try to write a bit above. If it's 2 mark, you can write like something that's worthy of 3 marks. So long you're fast, you just do that and then you'll be safe. Now explain one strength of collecting this type of data in the study. All right, what is the basically the question here is what is the strength of quantitative data? If you can interpret that, then you bring it down into this kind of study, which is Dement and Kletsman. Very important. Okay, if you remember quantitative data, I often say that quantitative data are objective. They are free from bias, which makes it more valid, right? The other one is that quantitative data um, are numerical data, and then it makes comparison very easy. All right, so let me start with the first one, which is my preference. Data objective and free from bias. So one strength of collecting this type of data in this study, okay, this shows that narration of dream recorded for is accurate, yeah, and valid. Okay, without bias or misinterpretation. Examiner will want to fault that, all right, because I explained it further. So this is fine. Quantitative data, yeah, it's fine. Okay, moving forward is just a 2-mark question, then that is already fine. Now, Glein is conducting an experiment with an independent measures design. He's testing the effect of background noise on social learning by imitation, background noise, and then social learning. Now, Glean shows each participant how to build a tower from blocks. Now, each participant then builds this tower with either singing or silence in the background. So either singing in the background or silence in the background. Now explain what is meant by an independent measure design, including an example from the study. So 2-mark, one question mark will be for definition of independent measure design. Another one will be for the example. All right, so what is independent measures design? If you remember very well, under the experimental design, independent measures design means that the no different experience different of the independent variable. Yeah, independent variable. Now a lot of mistake that students often make is that when they're trying to explain this, they explain something like independent measure design means that participants experience all the levels of the IV. All right, they try to explain the definition of repeated measure design in place of independent measure design. So which means that you need to have a good understanding of the differences between the independent measure design and the repeated measure design. So that will help a lot. Now in this situation, we can simply say that, okay, so the participants experienced only one level, not both, or there are situations where we can have 3 different conditions, 3 different levels of the IV. So they only experienced one level. So don't say all the participants experience one level. So it can be that some of the participants experience one level while the other participant experience the other level. So that would be better. Okay, so I believe this is fine. Means that different participants experience different level of the IV, independent variable. Okay, now that's the 1 mark for the definition. The 2nd mark will go straight into the example, yeah, in this study. All right, what example can we give now? Each participant then builds this tower with with either singing. Okay, yeah, we can say some part um, be placed in the condition with singing, okay, background, while the rest we go to the silent condition. All right, yeah, that is cool. So we have our 2 marks that way. Okay, moving forward, explain what is meant by a control condition, including an example from Glein's study. All right, what is a control condition? I often tell my students to take note of that. A control condition is not a condition where there is placebo. You know, some of them often mistake that, especially those in the A level. Okay, a control condition is an experimental condition where there is absence of the independent variable. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is very, very important. You need to understand it very well. What makes a condition a control condition is when there is total absence of the independent variable. Now, there are some experimental design that you do not have a control condition. If you're testing, for example, intelligence of maybe male and female gender now, in that situation, your IV is going to be the gender, and you're going to have condition 1, or let me say level 1 male, level 2 female. So female is part of the gender. Okay, it's under the gender. The gender is actually the IV. So female is a gender. All right, male is also a gender. So what we have there is 2 levels of the IV. We do not have a control condition. Please take note of that. So a control condition is a condition where there is absence of IV totally. All right, so there are some experiments that you do not necessarily need to have a control condition. So all you just need to have is levels of the IV, and that is okay. Please take note of that. Also, especially when you're designing your study. Okay, now C, suggest outline could measure social. Am I done with that question? Okay, yeah, including an example. Yeah, I'm not done, please. An example from the study. Okay, the silent condition is the control as the singing or sound singing is absent. This, so I'll be certain that the examiner really understands what I'm trying to say. Now, suggest how Glein could measure social learning by imitation in this study. Now, this basically explains the concept of operationalization, how he could measure. So in this situation, how can you measure it? It can either be quantitative or qualitative. Do you want to gather information by observing and recording, or do you want to gather information by counting, or using a particular technological equipment to measure something, maybe something like that. Okay, but how can he measure? What is going to give him his result is, okay, to be able to know if someone is doing it well or doing it wrongly. Okay, so I think one way in which Glein can go about that is Glein can count. Okay, let's go back to the question again. Glenn is conducting an experiment with an independent measure design. Now he's testing the effect of background noise on social learning. So Glenn shows each participant how to build a tower. The first thing, let's assume that Glenn is a teacher, shows the participant how to build a tower, and then each participant build the tower afterwards, okay, with either singing or silence and the background noise. So they were all building the tower. Now so it's testing the effect. So if they can build very well, how accurately they can build the tower. So the tower, how are you? Yeah, it's a tower. Yeah. Now Glenn can count. You have to suggest in this situation. So it actually suggests. So you have to create a suggestion, not necessarily that you're given an idea. So Glenn can count the numbers of bricks that are accurately placed, okay, by each participant as compared to his original work. Yeah, that is good. It's cool. All right. Yeah, that is a 2-mark question, and I believe it's fine. Yeah, that's it. Let me move forward. Okay, in the study of Pozzolo et al. Lineup, children were interviewed. Explain why it is necessary to gain informed consent from both the children and the children's parents. 3-mark. Why is it necessary to gain consent from both? So, in other words, why is it necessary to gain the informed consent from children? And then we also talk about why is it necessary to gain informed consent from parents. Okay, yeah. Let me start with the children. It is important to gain informed consent from the children as they will be the ones participating in the experiment. Okay, hence their interest and collaboration. Okay, yeah, interest and collaboration are important for the validity of the study. Why did I use the word validity? I use that because if the students are not, let me say the children, if they are not really interested in the study, they can just choose anything randomly. You see, if they feel like they were forced to do it out of their against their own will, they can just choose anything randomly, and that will reduce the validity, right? So the interest and collaboration, okay, there I wanted to say their interest and collaboration are important for the validity of the study. So I think this should get me around 2 marks already, right? So let me talk about parents now. Now, also seeking the parents' consent is necessary at the same time as the children might not fully understand the nature and risks involved in the experiment. Okay, parents will be able to ensure the safety. I think I'm writing more for a 3-mark question. See, the safety of their children, which will make it more ethical. Yeah, that is it. Experiment. Parent. All right, so moving forward, to test the correct identification of the cartoon characters, many foils were needed that were similar to the target cartoons. Explain one way in which the foil needed to be similar to the target. Yeah, what is foil and then what is target? Target is the exact image the children were looking out for, and then foils were the camouflages. They look similar, but they are not the correct image to be selected. Okay, so that is what is meant by foil, the fake images. Now, so what were the similarities between the real image and the fake images? What were the things about those pictures that were similar? All right, if you remember very well, one thing I told my student not to forget is the facial structure. The facial structure looks similar. All right, another one is the hair length. Okay, the hair length looks similar. Okay, the hair color is another thing, but I find that to be a little debatable. Why? Because um despite the fact that there could be color in the images and the likes, when there could be color actually in the video they saw, but when they were to select from the lineups, when they were to select the correct answer, it was actually given in black and white color. So in that situation, the hair color, I don't know if it's going to reflect the same thing or going to change. But anyway, it's one thing. Also, the sex is very important. Talking about the gender. Okay, if it's a male cartoon, then the foil also were male foils. You can use facial structure or hair length or sex as the similarity. Okay. Now, shows figure 5.1 shows some of the data from the study. Okay, use this graph to produce a table. We have to draw a table here. A table of the data. You must write full heading on the table. How do I do that? Now the key, the black bar is for the children, the gray bar is for the adult. Okay, percentage of you have the percentage here. You have the actually in this situation we have two different tables, but they are merged together. We have two different tables, but they are merged together. Yeah, because if it were to be one, just this, then it would have been easier, but we have this and this. So which means that we have a type of if this were not there, type of target would have only had children and then adult. But because we have cartoon and human female, then okay, where do I draw this even? I don't know exactly how I'm going to draw this, but let me just try my best. Okay, there is a draw. Okay, let me see what I can do with this. Oh, this is not gonna work. Okay, yeah, let me try something. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, this is a table I can start with. Now we have different scores. You have the percentage. Okay, I can have my percentage here at the left side, and then I can have, or I can have my percentage at the top part, or here as well, and then I can have my type of okay. But before I get there, before I label this and this, I need to record for cartoon female. Okay, and then I have this as well. I have cartoon female and human female, and then I have children and adult. Okay, yeah, children and adults. So we have children for cartoon female, then children for human female. Okay, now let me do my type of the target. Type of target. Wow, I think this is going to be a bit difficult to draw. Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Cartoon female and then human female. Cartoon female. Okay. And human female. All right. Yeah. And then here I'm going to have type of target. Type of target. Yeah. Okay, so I think this is cool. And then over here I can have another category, right? Now it would have been a very easy table if it's only one data we have, but since we have two different data together on the same table, that's why we are having this kind of table. All right, that's why we're having it this way. Although this is not the only way to draw it, you can draw it in another way. So far it makes sense and then it explains the data accurately, then you're good. All right, so we've done this type of, the percentage is just the percentage, which is the score we're going to record on the box. Okay, but then for this key we have children and adult. This is for type of, okay, yeah, children and adult. Children and then adult. Yeah, so I think the last thing we have to draw is now the percentage. All right, the percentage of what again? Percentage of correct identification. Percentage of correct identification. All right, so how are we going to record this? All right, for children, let's record for children first. Children add a score of 100%. Children for cartoon female 100%. Okay, for human female, okay, this is 20 and this is 40. What is the space between this and this? We have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So 10 divided by 40 minus 20 will give us 20. So the gap between this and this is 20. 0 to 20, 20 to 40 is 20. Now 20 divided by 10 lines, so it's going to be 2. So it's going to be 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. Yeah. So this is 20, 22, and 24. This is 24. Okay, 24%. All right. Children for cartoon female is 100. Then children for human female is 24. Okay, children for cartoon female is 100. 100, and then children for human female is 24. All right, I believe that makes sense. Let's look at the second one now. Adult for cartoon female is 100 as well, and then adult for human female is this is 40. Okay, 40, 41, 42, no, sorry, 40, 42, 44, 46. Okay, so 146, cartoon 100, human 46. Okay, adult for cartoon 100, and then for human female 46. Yeah, so that is it. You have your formats this way. It is well labeled and then well written. All right, moving forward. Describe participant observation and non-participant observation using any example. All right, so if you remember vividly what is participant observation, okay, participant observation is a type of observation where the researcher is not, I don't want to use the word participate anymore, engaging in the task, let me put it that way, with the participant. Yeah, that is basically participant observation. Sorry, no, when the researcher is engaging, actually. Yeah, when the researcher is engaging in the task, okay, I can use the word this in the same task with the participant. All right, so in other words, they are doing the same task, just a way to make it more meaningful. A type, yeah. So moving on, what is the question again? Using any example. So we can actually use any example. You can use from your AS study, and you can also create an example. Okay, for example, a researcher that is studying student attention in class and is also sitting in the class participating in, I can use participate now, in the lesson. All right, so that is good. What about a non-participant observation? Okay, non-participant, I don't have to explain this. Okay, observation is a type of observation where the researcher is not please understand the difference between this and overt covert observation. They are not the same, although they can be interwoven in certain situations, that is, they can share characteristics. You can think about a particular method, for example, and that method encompasses both participant and covert or overt observation, but you still need to understand what is their differences, what is the definition of each. Okay, you'll find all that in my research method video. All right, so it's a type of observation where the researcher is not engaging in the same task with the participants. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Yeah, there is a case of Bandura, right? Or Milgram. Okay, let's say Milgram, for example. For example, in the study by Milgram, Milgram, the experimenter was sitting at the back of the participant, but not pressing the electric switch uh, like the participant. Yeah, I think this is fine. All right, electric switch like the participant. Yeah. Okay, you can use another one. You can maybe a teacher, or let me say a researcher trying to study student attention in the class, and then the researcher is actually sitting at the back and not following or participating in the lesson, you see. So that is also a good example, since they already said using any example. So you can create an example for it. Just make sure it aligns with the definition. Now, Rania is collecting data about study habit. She's asking students of in her school how uh, two questions. Two questions. Um, Question one, sorry. Yeah, how long do you spend studying per week after school? Which subjects do you prefer to study after school? Art, language, is math. Okay. Now, Raya, we use two different measures of central tendency in our data, the mode and the mean. Explain which measure of central tendency will be most appropriate for Raya's question. Okay, measure of standard central tendency for question one. How long do you spend studying per week after school? Yeah, so this one is talk about how long in terms of time. Okay, the duration, how long. So the person is supposed to respond with maybe in terms of hours of seconds, you see. So which measure of central tendency can we use for this? We can actually, between mean and mode, we can only use mean to calculate time because it's actually numerical, right? It's numerical. So mean will be suitable for question one. Explanation. This is because it is numerical and it's a number kind of. It's a numerical and yeah, and continuous scale or data. Yeah. So what I mean by continuous in the sense that, okay, the same figure can rise to, 2 to 4, 2 to 3. It's still the same thing, the same continuous scale. Number is number. So number can only be higher or lower. It is still the same number. All right. But when you look at question two on the other hand, okay, this is art. Art cannot equal to language. Art cannot increase to become language. Art is just art. It's separate from language. Language is different from math. So these are categorical data. All right, they are based on category, either art category, so separate data, or categorical data, you see. So now which measure of central tendency can be used for this? This will be mode. Okay, why? Because this is because it is a categorical data or separate data. Okay. All right. So my students are on break presently. I hope they won't be disturbing. Okay. Now explain how Rania could calculate the range of hours spent studying per week after school. Okay. How can you calculate the range? How do you calculate range? The lowest, no, the highest minus the lowest hour. The highest hour minus the lowest. Okay. Yeah, am I right? Explain how Ranya could calculate the range of hours spent studying per week. Yeah, this is fine. Range, that's how you calculate range. The highest minus the lowest. And then you have your answer. Now, Ranya colleague says she should use the standard deviation instead of the range. So, standard deviation and range are both under measure of spread. Measure of spread. They are important. You should have an idea about it. Now explain why the standard deviation will provide more information than the range. Yeah, standard deviation actually gives more information than the range. If you look at the range, for example, it only picks two data, the highest data and the lowest data. Every of the data in the middle are ignored. They are ignored, just like the mode also ignored every other data and picks the ones that are occurring the most, something like that. Okay, so explain why this will provide more information than the range. Standard deviation will provide more information as it, most of the time you don't need to start your answer by trying to type the question again. It might waste a lot of time. Okay, it's not really advisable, so the best thing is just to go straight to the point. Okay, but I am doing this so you can understand better. All right, so standard deviation will provide more information as it uh, includes all the information in, hey, my students are very loud, in the data set. Okay, so what else is standard deviation? Also, distance between the each data from, so instead of just how far away the highest and the lowest data are to each other, this one, it measures the distance between each data and then the mean score. All right, so that is what it does. I believe that is cool. Now Ryan will use a non-directional two-tailed hypothesis about study habits. Now explain which hypothesis Ryan will use. Now, student who prefer math will spend more time studying. Okay, there will be a difference in the time spent studying by student who prefer math or student who do not prefer math. Okay, which one is a non-directional hypothesis? Non-directional hypothesis basically talks about a hypothesis that does not show a direction with which one variable will affect the other, right? Okay, so student will prefer, this already shows that they will prefer. Okay, this is showing direction. There will be no difference in the time spent studying by student who prefer math and students who do not prefer math. Okay, there will be a difference. Yeah, there will be a difference. Yeah, but it's not showing how the difference will be. Is it going to be high or low? So hypothesis Y is the correct one. Okay, y eta s establishes the a relationship between the two variables. Okay, that is number one thing. What is number one thing? It establishes relationship between the two variables. What is the two variables? Preferring math and those who do not prefer math. Okay, students who prefer those out, but it didn't show the direction in terms of preference. Yeah, in terms of preference of the students who will prefer math. Yeah, this is good. Simon is conducting a study about children learning to read. Is comparing how well they understand a story when reading from a book, which has pages with images that are either colored shapes, pictures that are not related to the text, pictures that are related to the text. Let me take this again. Simon is conducting a study about children learning to read. I'm actually losing my thoughts gradually. Okay, he's comparing how well they understand a story when reading from a book. Okay, which has pages with images that are either books which has pages with different kinds of images. Now, images that are either colored shapes, okay, images that are not related to the text, okay, and what is the third category? Okay, images that are related to the text. Identify the independent variable in Simon's study. Independent variable is simply, okay, the book remains the same for all the conditions, but we have different kinds of images for the three conditions. I think I should stop the student from playing around here. They're disturbing me. Please give me a few seconds. Hello, please. I'm having a record here, okay? I'm having a record here. Please, I do not want to disturb you. You can play your phone content, but please not yet, alright? Huh? I'm even having a record here. Your noise, the ball has been disturbed. Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Well, that's children for you. You can't really stop them from playing, but they promise to lower their voices. I hope they actually do. Okay. Yeah, what was I saying here? The independent variable is what again? Mm, oh, yeah. The types of the type of images given. All right, it's 1 mark, so it's cool. It's cool. It's fine. Now, identify the dependent variable in Simon's study. What is the dependent? What is it trying to study? Okay, I think how well they understand the text. He's comparing how well they understand the story. Okay, when reading from, yeah, he's trying to see their level of understanding. Okay, how well the student understand the story. That's what he's measuring. Yeah. Okay, moving forward. Oh, I think I went too fast. Now, all the pictures and shapes are brightly colored. All of them are brightly colored. Explain one reason for this. Why will you make all of them to be the same way when it comes to color? Okay, explain why this is important. 3 mark. In order to control extraneous extraneous variable that could arise from color. Okay, color could have attracted some student and enhance their attracted some student to pay more attention which in turn will enhance their understanding. This will contradict the impact of the IV, which is what? Types of images. Making the, yeah, I think I explained it already. I don't need to explain further. Hence, making them have similar bright color will allow only the IV have impact on the DV, increasing the internal validity. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think this is good. Moving forward, Eng is conducting a study to investigate the job satisfaction of male and female employees at a factory. She has identified two problems with uncontrolled variable. One is a situational variable. Wow, I think this thing is very long list of question. Okay, one is a situational variable and one is a participant variable. This and this. Explain which one of this problem is a participant variable. Female employees have more responsibility as abilities at home. The factory promotes male employees faster than female. Now, the variable X, female employees have more responsibility. What can I say about that? The female X, sorry, female, yeah, that is a participant variable. Oh, sorry, what am I writing again? I'm losing my thoughts. The noise of the student is really distracting me. Which one is the, I should explain. Okay, variable X is the participant variable as it explains the personality of different what? Employees. Okay, now, so what about the other one, which is a situational variable? Let me just copy it. Variable Y is a is a situational, as it explains the environment environment of all the employees. Yeah. Suggest how Hank could limit the problem of one of those uncontrolled variables. How can he limit it? For the participant variable, how can he limit it? How can he reduce the problem caused by? Yeah, you can actually reduce that variable. That participant variable is serving as an extraneous variable, right? You can actually reduce it. Okay, you can reduce that. So one way you can reduce it based on our suggestion could be that E can oh, I'm really distracted by this noise. It can carry out a screening test to check the responsibilities of each participant. Okay, so when it does that, in terms of how many hours they spend at home working, right? More responsibility. Okay, yeah, in terms of how many hours they spend at home working. All right. Okay. After that, he can now merge the. So what I'm basically trying to do here is I'm trying to create a matched pair design. He can now merge the male and female participants with similar working time at home in terms of home responsibilities. Yeah. So, yeah, this match pair will help us solve it. Okay. Now, trying to limit a problem in a study can create further issue. So, just one issue that your answer in this part can create for Hang. You try to match those people. All right. The merging might not be accurate. That's one thing to note. It might not be accurate. It might not be accurately done. It's good, but it can still create another. Okay. What about, yeah, generalizability is another concept. Okay. Screening participants can result to low generalization. Okay. As the as some participant might not be included, which will lower the sample representation and in turn reduce the generalizability. Yes. Oh. Okay, now to the last question. This question, I don't think I'm going to answer it actually because of the time. I think I've spent a lot of time on this video. I don't want it to be too long as well, but I just had to do what I had to do, so I had to explain in detail and ensure that everyone gets the idea. But already I spent over 1 hour on this video, I believe. All right, so but I'm just going to give you a guideline. Mary is conducting a case study on a boy diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder. Now, he produces many detailed doodles, and Mary wants to learn about him and his doodling. Describe how Mary could conduct a case study of doodling in a boy diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder. Do not describe sampling technique or ethical issue or guideline in your answer. All right, so in this situation, I can feel free to ignore this question because I already created a video on how to design a case study. I have another video on how to design a longitudinal study. I have another video on how to design observational study, field experiment study, laboratory experiment, and I think another one. So I have videos on almost all of them, if not all. All right, so you can check out those videos. But for this one, I'm just going to give you a guideline. So in this kind of situation, most of the time you should write about the IV in one paragraph, the IV, the operational definition, and the likes. And then in another paragraph, you should write about the method, research method, the procedure, and the method of analysis. But in this situation, we do not have any IV and DV because this is a case study. Oh, these students are very, very loud. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a guideline. Okay, now the boy is having autism. Please give me a few seconds. Hello. Look over there. It's close. Yeah, you are disturbing too much. No, either I confiscate the ball or you leave. Give me 2 minutes. Either I confiscate the ball or you leave. No. Your noise has already disturbed my people. No. It's not about this service. You should be playing football here in the first place, and that's the instruction. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm back. Okay. So Mary can conduct, first and foremost, the boy is having autism, okay? And then we want to, what is the essence of this study? He wants to, okay, Mary wants to learn about him. Mary just wants to know about him. We are not trying to compare anything. Okay, we can even compare as well, but we are not comparing maybe a particular behavior with not our goal. It's not an experiment. Okay, we are not doing IV versus DV, or I mean experimental group versus control group. We're not doing all that. So Mary just basically wants to know about the boy, wants to investigate the boy, wants to study the boy. It's a case study. I want to know more about the boy. All right, so in this situation, Mary, I'm just going to give a guideline. Mary can conduct, Mary can start with a natural. You've already said we shouldn't talk about the sampling technique and then the ethical issue. Okay, Mary can start by seeking informed consent from the boy and his parents or guardians, as the case may be. Okay, so you can talk about that. If you have further information on how she should go about seeking the informed consent, then that's left to you. You can add that to it. What else should Mary do? Mary can learn more about his or autistic trait and the difficulty he might be experiencing. How? Through um, an interview with whoever has diagnosed the boy to be having, or let me say, with autism. Okay, we can just leave it this way. All right. You can choose something like that, or Mary can decide to go with maybe a therapist as well to diagnose the boy again, just to have an idea. That will help Mary to know certain issues the boy might have if he wants to carry out some investigation around the boy. So to be able to get accurate data, that will guide Mary to know, okay, can the boy communicate well, can he relate well, can he socialize well with Mary herself or not. So that's just to give a guide. Okay, what else can Mary do? Now, Mary, talking about is doodling behavior now. To learn about the doodling behavior, Mary can start with, okay, a natural observation where she will observe the boy. How? Observe the boy and record his doodling behaviors. Okay, Mary will look out for the time of the day when the boy likes to doodle. Okay, what is the content of his doodling behavior in terms of it? The content of his doodling behavior. How long the boy often doodles and where the boy likes to doodle. Okay. All right. So this is already giving me a hint about what the study is going to look like. Okay. It's conducting a natural observation by looking at the boy in his okay. The observation will be done. The natural observation will be done at the boy's. I don't want to answer this question, but I'm already doing that. Okay. So it's just for me to merge these sentences, or let me say these things together. I can merge the first two together to form one paragraph, and then I can add some other words to it. So this one now can form another paragraph already. Okay. After that, okay, Mary can now do what? Mary can do what after conducting a natural? One thing about case studies is that do not use one research method. Okay, we've already spoken about natural observation, right? Let's not talk about observation again at large. Let's look at another one. Okay, Mary can also conduct a follow-up should we say structured interview? Yeah, no, semi structured interview with the parent to ask further details and clarification on the boys' doodling behavior. Okay. Yeah, what else can I see here? Okay. The data obtained from the observation, okay, can be restructured into question format and be used to prompt the conversation with the parents. Okay, yeah, I believe this is making sense. All right, so one thing about conducting a case study, there is not one way on how to design a study. So it's just about you trying to think and think and think and pour out your idea. Just make sure it makes sense and it really captures what the question has asked you to do. The question has told us that Mary is trying to know more, to learn about the boy's behavior. So we want to learn about the boy's doodling behavior. Then what I've been writing so far is actually about learning the boy's doodling behavior. And then we want to ensure that everything we are learning is also accurate. It's not we are not making a mistake in the process of learning the boys doodling behavior. Okay. Yeah. What else? Okay. Now, so I can use another research method here. Okay, but this time around, since Mary is going to be since the boy is actually an autistic patient. Okay. Yeah. In addition, this pattern and this method is quite different from carrying out an experiment. If it's going to be an experiment, you have to describe your IV, your DV, your personalization, and then you go straight into the process of, okay, how do I allocate participants to different groups? Okay, what am I going to give the experimental group? What am I going to give the control group? And at the end of the day, how am I going to what are the procedures to be followed? Okay, starting with this and this and this and this and that, and then probably at the end of if they ask you not to give the ethical guideline, then you don't give informed consent or whatever. I mean, you don't talk about the debriefing, okay, or as the case may be. So you just go straight. How are you going to analyze? You're going to compare the result of maybe the experimental group and the control group, and then the result will be drawn in a table, and eventually you create a table for it. I mean, a graph for it, a bar chart. Okay. Now, in addition, but this one is quite different because it's a case study. We're just going to talk about different methods to study the ball. All right. Okay. All right. So in addition to that, Mary will carry out. Okay, we've already spoken about an interview. Okay, we have. Yeah, we can still carry out an interview still. Okay, an interview. Okay. Um, okay. Mm, maybe I shouldn't use interview about a questionnaire. Okay. Yeah. Mary will carry. Mary will administer a questionnaire to. All right. A questionnaire to the boy. Okay. To get in-depth data on his doodling behavior. Since the boy might have difficulty in communication, Mary can use a um, feeling. This idea I want to add here. Okay, Mary can a feeling thermometer that includes some of the images that the boy is familiar with. Okay, thermometer, some of the cartoon images that the boy is familiar with. Yeah, they did something similar to this in the Saavedra and Silverman study, all right, where there was a feeling thermometer. So I just borrowed the idea from there. You know, when you go through the content of the AS study, it will guide you on questions like this when it comes out. All right, so there was a cartoon image that was given to the boy to rate his feeling with each button. Okay, so in this case, I'm just to rate okay, to rate his emotions as regards each doodling behavior. Okay, yeah. Now the emotion can range, no, okay, the emotion will further explain why the boy doodles. What do I mean by that? I just got that idea now. Okay, is okay, which can be due to stress, happiness, okay, stress, okay, happiness, and what again? Stress, happiness, sadness, okay, or boredom. Yeah. So now you can use a feeling thermometer to actually rate this, and then the boy will be given a feeling thermometer to measure, you know, with images representing. Okay, now each cartoon image will represent each of the emotions. Okay, Now at the end of it all, I can now talk about how it's going to gather the data. Okay, now Mary will then create, will then analyze the data obtained using content analysis to provide a detailed explanation on the boys doodling behaviors. Okay, in terms of what and what? In terms of why, when, where, and how he doodles. Okay, also he can conduct to no to compare the information and the similarities between each the data obtained from each research method used. Yeah, and then I think that will be it. So moving on to the explain one feature of the procedure you describe in part A, how that one feature helps make the study valid. Okay, what was one feature that I used? Okay, yeah, I used a natural observation. Yeah, using natural observation will reduce the idea of demand characteristics. Okay, since the boy will be studied in his natural environment, his behavior will be natural, which in turn will increase the internal validity. All right, so you can also consider the other ones I did. Okay, because we use multiple method, you can also look at I also spoke about what again? Semi-structured interview. Okay, why do I have to go with semi-structured interview? So that I can have a guide on what to ask the parent. Okay, that is good. Using I also use the method here by using the familiar faces with the boy. I understood that the boy might be having issue with communication or relating with me, so using those familiar faces can actually increase the validity since the boy is already familiar with them. Okay, that can now suggest one way to improve the reliability of the procedure you describe in part A. How can I increase the reliability? Okay, to improve the reliability. Now, yeah, since I carried out a natural observation, how can I increase the reliability of natural observation? Mary, okay, let me say the encoded behavior can be standardized diced into different time sections, okay, um, maybe such as more than 2 hours, or maybe I should use another one. All right, the doodling behavior in the natural. Yeah, I just want to talk about encoding the behavior very well. Okay, can be standardized because I have a lot of things I'm studying on about the boy, so I think it's going to be a bit longer. Well, I don't have to talk about everything. All right, since it's a 2 mark question, different time sessions such as more than 2 hours or less. Okay, another one could be for the I also studied the content of doodling. Okay, such as the type of shapes. Okay, all right, type of shapes. Okay, yeah, the type of shapes to be doodled. Okay, you know, when it comes to reliability, we want to ensure that there is good standardization and good control. So what else can we control? The type of shapes, because there are some times that the boy might just be doodling randomly that you might find it hard to explain. Okay, but there are types of shapes that we are looking out for. Okay, and what else? We also spoke about, is it when now? What else did we talk about? The time of the day. All right, yeah, and then the timing. Okay, and the timing of the day in terms of morning, afternoon, and evening. So those are the 3 times you look at. Then an inter-rater reliability can be conducted to verify the similarities in the uh, data obtained. Yeah, so this will ensure that there is good reliability. So that will be able to increase, or let me say, increase the level of reliability. If both observer have a similar script, which is a standard script to follow, so we both have the same kind of script to actually look out for in the child, then we'll be able to increase the reliability. I believe that's the last question. Yeah, that is it. Okay, thank you very much for the time. I know this is a very long video. Okay, but then it is actually worth it. I think that is the most important aspect. All right, so very shortly I will also be posting how to answer paper 3. Please, if you're yet to subscribe, I want to urge you to actually subscribe to my channel, and also like and share the videos with your friends. Okay, thank you very much for the attention. Goodbye for now.